Nova Scotia Saga starts at the ocean's edge. Nova Scotia's story has been intertwined with that of the sea. Of men who go down to the sea in ships, of people deeply aware that on their shores began much of the story of America. Those of us whose ancestors were among the early Nova Scotia settlers somehow feel that we have had a part in the shaping of Canada. Canadian history really came to life in 1605, when de Monts and Champlain built the habitation on the shores of the Annapolis River, the first permanent white settlement north of Florida. Along the same river at Fort Anne and on Cape Breton Island at Fortress Louisbourg, famous battles between the English and French helped determine the destiny of a continent. Cornwallis, commanding the English, built a new city, Halifax, with its fortress Citadel Hill as a bulwark against Fortress Louisbourg. Historic Halifax, Nova Scotia's capital, has seen 2 centuries of history unfold to earn by its loyal service in peace and war the proud title of Warden of the Honor of the North. Cape Lomadon, home of the Micmac god Glooscap, broods over Minas Basin. Here we recall the expulsion of the Acadians at Grand Pre. The willows they planted over 200 years ago still stand as their memorial. This is the land of Evangeline, with fertile dike lands that the Acadians reclaimed from the sea and that the English later occupied and developed into a rich agricultural valley. But the Acadians came back to Nova Scotia. Some settled in the district of Clare, often called Nova Scotia's French Shore. Over the centuries, they have kept their faith, their language, and their customs. At festival time, old Acadian costumes and folk singing bring back the atmosphere of old France. Another kind of Celtic culture flourishes on Cape Breton Island at the Gaelic College held each summer at St. Anne's. Here, children learn the ancient art of piping. Here, the intricate footwork of Scottish dances is practiced again and again. And Gaelic, language of the Garden of Eden. For in the highlands and lowlands of Cape Breton Island, Gaelic is still spoken. The island reminds us much of Scotland across the waste of seas. Yes, still the blood is strong, the heart is Highland, and we in dreams behold the Hebrides. The Hanoverians settled in Lunenburg, now known as the home of the famous schooner Bluenose. It's a shipbuilding town and deep-sea fishing center where tales of the sea are on everyone's tongue.
But I had great faith from the time that I seen her lines, and she proved those.
People from many races have become fellow citizens of this peninsula and work side by side. In Nova Scotia today, a new industrial tide is flowing strong. In North America, well to the east, in the southern part of Canada, lies Nova Scotia. It's really not distant. By sea, 6 hours from Maine. By air, 4 hours from Toronto. By land, 15 hours from Boston. 100 million of our neighbors in Canada and the United States are only a few hours away from Nova Scotia. At the New Brunswick border, there's a warm Nova Scotia welcome. For all Nova Scotians, the sea is at one's back door, and nowhere is any part of the province more than 35 miles from salt water. For the traveler who likes to gypsy along willy-nilly, nothing looks more welcome than a campsite, which seems just made for him. Whether it's on Cape Breton Island or on the mainland, if you choose to picnic or pitch your tent, you are nearly always within sound and sight of the ocean. We who live beside it might sometimes take the sea for granted. But for the stranger, a trip, even as a spectator to commercial fishing nets, can be a big adventure. Net full of tuna bluefins, mackerel, or herring is all in a day's work for the offshore fisherman. Not so for the onlooker. The giant 600 or 700 pound tuna is a monster version of its small cousin, the streamlined mackerel, which is quicksilver in its actions and great fun to catch with rod and reel. There's nothing quite like an ocean outing. With colorful lures for bait and rod and reel for tackle, there's no saltwater sport more fun than fishing, especially if you hook a pollock. Pollock come big and put up a grand fight. The sea is the most varied and exciting fishing ground, and within sight of the coast, too. Now, how about exploring some of the thousands of islands offshore, like the treasure pit at Oak Island, as mysterious today as it was when discovered 165 years ago. The oft-explored treasure pit still holds its secret hoard of, what? Captain Kidd's gold? Inca treasure? Who knows? Hidden tunnels built long ago bring the ocean itself to guard the secret. While Atlantic tides of the province rise and fall about 6 feet, Nova Scotia's Bay of Fundy coast has the highest tides in the world. Sometimes they rise 50 feet or even more. At low tide, only trickles of water remain, and the sea floor lies exposed. Canada's ocean playground. That's what Nova Scotia is called, and with good reason, too. For fine sandy beaches are seen on all sides, 100 of them. Lonely lighthouses, coastlines sculptured by the pounding surf, entrance the artist. The sea offers many thrills and spills to the venturesome, and inland from the sea are thousands of lakes. and rivers, churning their way boisterously or gliding placidly as they flow down to the sea, hold in their depths trout and salmon, the grand prize of freshwater angling. Somehow, in these rustic settings, I wonder what it was like before white men set foot on this land, when these rivers and streams were fished by Micmac Indians, not for pastime, but for their livelihood. The Indians are part of Nova Scotia's story too. With them and against them, battles were lost and won before lands were cleared and busy towns and industries took shape. Looking at Liverpool today, the streets resemble those of other towns, where new homes nestle beside the old. At Fort Point, a reminder that in 1604, de Monts and Champlain landed at Liverpool, and another reminder of privateer days. In his now historic house, Simeon Perkins captured in his diary and records the everyday and exciting happenings of his time. Today in the same town, Thomas H. Radall in his books brings back to life that colorful era of past days. Yes, almost everywhere in Nova Scotia, if you look for it, the past is rubbing shoulders with the present. The Citadel, for instance, today a National Historic Park, is a rich storehouse of past memories. The visitor will learn that this room, where they can now enjoy afternoon tea, was once a munitions magazine where powder was stored inside massive stone walls 8 feet thick. Watching the Halifax Naval Dockyard in celebration dress, the display of modern ships and guns, we remember that this dockyard is the oldest in North America. Today, Nova Scotia sailing ships are pleasure craft. They are part of the seascape as they scud before the wind. The everlasting sea is part of Nova Scotia's heritage, and none can escape its subtle influence. What makes me proud is the realization that in the building of Canada, Nova Scotia, whose sagas so richly blend the old and the new, has had so great a part.